Hi, and thanks for joining us today. Today's webinar is all about how SMS messaging can be used to enhance community and stakeholder engagement. We're really excited to have you with us today on this webinar because we're going to be talking both about engagement but also demonstrating it. And before we do begin, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today, wherever you may be. I'd also like to pay my respects to elders past, present and future. We're going to be bringing this webinar today on both behalf of MessageMedia as well as Bang the Table. And what we're going to be covering today is how SMS can be used at different stages of your engagement practice, anything from project communications through to community feedback. We'll also hear real examples of how organisations at the moment are using SMS to increase participation and propel engagement outcomes. We'll also see and experience firsthand how responses can be collected through mobile interaction using sophisticated tools. And then finally, we'll also be seeing how MessageMedia's SMS integrates in with Bang the Table's engagement platform, Engagement HQ. Before we do kick off today, I'd like to explain how today's going to run. It's not a traditional webinar, and how we're going to be looking to you for your participation. About 15 minutes ago, you would have, if you provided your mobile phone number to us, you would have received the first part of our engagement. And that is just to remind you of what's happening. Because what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be conducting two activities during the webinar, and we're going to be showcasing real-time engagement delivered via SMS and seen through Engagement HQ. So please do keep your phone to hand. So to begin with, let's introduce today's panel. I'm Rachel, and I'm a senior marketer with MessageMedia. And who we've got with me today is Rudy Fenton. Rudy, would you like to talk about who we are in MessageMedia?
Yes, thanks, Rachel. So at MessageMedia, we are experts in communication engagement and specifically around how SMS can cut through. So we work with organisations across Australia, New Zealand, the US and the UK to use the communications that deliver to the most commonly used in our grasp, which is mobile phones. So we stretch across all industries, and if you need to communicate quickly and your message needs to be read, and your text message is one of the most effective ways to do so, with SMS being read within 90 seconds, 90% of the time. So right now we've been helping organisations for the last 20 years to deliver this, and we recently partnered with community engagement experts at Bang the Table.
Great. And from Bang the Table, we've got Joe and Johannes. I'll let you guys introduce yourselves.
Great, I'm going to go quickly first. My name is Johannes. I'm a senior product manager with Bang the Table, and I'm responsible and in charge of our marketplace and our partnerships.
Yep, and my name is Joe. I'm the new business manager for Bang the Table in Australia and New Zealand. A bit of background around Bang the Table is that everyone believes that people should be involved in decisions that impact our lives, how we shape our physical and natural environment, how we come together culturally and socially. And we've been supporting predominantly public organisations at all levels of government, local, state, national, in involving community and stakeholders in decision making through the adoption of digital engagement into their engagement practice. Currently, we've been operating for 12 years working across Australia, New Zealand, Canada, the US and the UK. And we provide a fantastic flexible platform that supports engagement methodology designed to take a holistic approach to your engagements, and really excited to be partnering with MessageMedia to show how SMS has that cut through, just as another channel to start to pull through engagement activity into your sites.
Fantastic. Thanks very much. And at this juncture, I'm going to open it up to a little bit of a discussion between the Bang the Table team and the MessageMedia team. But kicking it off with the first obvious question, how has Bang the Table and MessageMedia started working together?
Yes, very good question. Thanks, Rachel, for the introduction as well. As I said, my role in looking after our marketplace and our partnerships and integrations, and our marketplace has been live for not even a year yet, but it was about that time a year or so ago that we're realized that there's a lot of really good tools out there, and we'll never have the capacity to build all these really good feature ideas that we get from our clients ourselves. So in order to fast track some of these great use cases that we hear from our clients, we figured we're in a better position to look for partnerships, look for best of breed tools in this space, and just finding a position to fast track some of these ideas that we get. And so naturally, ourselves being somewhat of a leader in the community engagement space, we looked at who's the leader in SMS, and naturally we came across MessageMedia there. And so we started that partnership, I believe, late last year, and it really accelerated into this year, into 2020. And we're now in a position where we can build, or have started building, an integration between our two platforms, some of which you will see today. So that's really quite exciting. So that's my side of the partnership and my interpretation. Rodi, how did you see this unfold?
Yeah, well, as I mentioned earlier, we are experts in community engagement across lots of industries, and we've been doing that for 20 years. And local government's no different. We've been working with local government this whole time, and I felt like by partnering with Bang the Table, we saw an opportunity not just to plug our SMS into your platform, but really tap into Bang the Table's expertise in the local government space. So I'll give you some stats, kind of, because we're all glued to our mobile, and unfortunate in some cases, but the reality is that because of that, the SMS does get some amazing results. So, as I said before, 90% of SMSs are read within 90 seconds, 98% of SMSs are read, and 73% of people prefer an SMS to downloading an app or receiving an email. And on emails, SMS is 8 times more responsive than email. So now all these stats sound really impressive, and they're proven and that they are true. But if the use case, if the content is not engaging, if it's not relevant, then those outcomes really don't get you anywhere, really. So what we found really exciting with Bang the Table is that partnership really excites us, because we can tap into their experience in the space. They live and breathe engagement with local government, and I think with the partnership, I think we can provide the benefits of SMS, but also take advantage of all the expertise there and really get engagement with the community as best as possible. So I think we should pass it over to Joe, because I think Joe's got some activities that we can run with, so give you some live examples.
Yeah, fantastic. So I think there's a bit of an evolution here, so taking on engagement practice and building on momentum. We ran a webinar a couple of weeks ago where we first started using exploring SMS, where we were asking the community what comes to mind when thinking about SMS engagement, and we used a series of activities where we're getting feedback, and the culmination of that was some key themes that came out of a discussion forum in that webinar. So I'll just start sharing my screen here. When we speak about SMS, there's two broad approaches, or two broad channels which we're exploring, and the first is really outbound engagement. So outbound engagement where you've already started to establish a relationship with your community through SMS. You've got mobile numbers collected, whether you've brought them across from another platform or you've asked for them as part of a registration process. But there's a nice flow where you're able to start to have that dialogue back and forth. So as an organization, you're able to push out. Let's just do this one. Share my screen, where you're able to push out engagement. So what we're looking at here, so the quick poll here, that you'll be receiving an SMS as quickly, where we'll be asking you to provide some feedback. So quick polls are really nice, light way to get some feedback around forced choice questions. So voting can be used as temperature gauges to key decisions. We'll just look here, there's just jumping through. So these were the key themes that came out of our previous discussions around the use of SMS. So the first one was event management. So we're starting to look at people's first point of contact with, or thinking about this, was how are we going to invite people to events? What about event logistics, reminders? So similar to what we've done today with you, being able to send out a reminder. They don't need to be about physical events, digital events, they work well as well. So that was the first sort of activity that we've you've experienced if you provided your mobile number is that event management process. The second one that we've sort of sent you just before is being able to, the next key theme that came out was event communication. So the first thing that most people are thinking about is this push out, how do we get information out to our community members? So being able to use SMS to do push out updates around key transition points of projects, launch of projects, if there are going to be interruptions, etc. So still thinking about that one way. The next area that we started to look at was how do we actually start collecting feedback? Now, this is the really exciting part for us, is using SMS as a cut through, not only to communicate out, but also allow that quick follow through back in. So the first activity which we've sent is what first comes to mind when you're thinking about SMS engagement. And what we've got here is a quick little video which shows when you get these, you will have received an SMS with these 4 key options, and you respond via a number, and that will come through, and just showing the transparency of how quickly these results come through. This is a live result or a live tally that's come through from this SMS engagement that we've done with you for this first activity. The last one, so the last little area that we're looking at is small group engagement. So how can you actually start to use it in smaller groups? Now, I've got some great examples here. So firstly, when you're like what we're doing right now, where we already have a mobile number with you, where we've already established sort of a mobile connection with you, we're able to start doing those outgoing comms to you. We're able to start involving you in engagement. So Rockhampton, Queensland, just off the bat, they've just, when people are building out their relationship, registering to be part of the community and be involved in projects, they're already asking for mobile numbers. There's mine there. What they're starting to do is really build out that relationship so that at any point moving forward, they're able to broadcast out and invite people into those engagements. What we've seen some really interesting groups, small group engagement happening. So Yankalilla, South Australia, running a consultation around their annual budget or business plan. And what they did was they're running public Zoom meetings. So this is really relevant, really recent. So early May, middle of COVID, we can't get together in the physical environment. So they're running the public meetings via Zoom. But what they're doing is during the session, they're actually promoting out a mobile number to get SMS feedback into the platform. And during those public meetings, people were coming in and asking key questions. And the results of being able to send through an SMS and start getting feedback from Yankalilla, but also the CEO jumping in and responding, that connectedness coming through really quickly is just a great way of being able to provide just another channel of that feedback loop coming into your engagement platforms. So I think that was one of the key things that we're really excited about, is this element coming in, just another channel for people to provide that feedback. You'll notice that when you do use SMS, there's a really nice workflow that you can build in as well. So when people do provide a response, or what we'll see in activity 2, where you do provide some input, you can create a workflow where you get them to come back in, not just through SMS, but into a digital environment. So making sure that the site's mobile responsive and interactive. You could really start to establish or build on that relationship that's coming through via SMS. Going back to this, I just wanted to start to clarify sort of inbound and outbound. So when we're looking at inbound SMS, we're thinking about that broader challenge of how do we start to get our mobile number out to the community. We'll jump over to Rachel into just describing activity 2. Fantastic. What we've got here. Oops, is it flipped over the back one more page? Yep. So the first activity there we go. The first activity that we did, we had for those of you that provided a mobile number to start getting that feedback in. So very much like what Rockhampton's looking at doing, that established relationship. But the next one is for existing clients or people who are just moving into this space, and they're wanting to create a dedicated mobile number for your engagement. So just being able to, what are the ideas you're getting around how can you put your mobile number out into the community? How can you start to get that feedback? It's just a really nice way to start to build up your database or relationships rather than working with your existing ones. So this is, I think, one of the really exciting things around using this for building up databases, reaching people who predominantly you might not have had a relationship through your online presence. So how do we start to look at other channels to create a holistic engagement approach, which builds out not just database growth and feedback, but starts to connect with people who don't feel comfortable jumping on a website and do prefer just using mobile phone. And I think the great thing is the immediacy of the responses that come through from that. Now, if you're jumping in, we've got a mobile number here, +61 for those outside of Australia, 447 075 832. And what are your ideas for getting your mobile numbers out to the community for feedback? How would you start to tap into those areas where you don't have representation, or how do you, rather than prompting people when they're at a certain physical location, how do you start to get them coming back in through SMS? Now, jumping in, go Rachel.
Yeah, and it's one of those ones where it provides a more grounded opportunity for more members of the community to engage. Not everyone's going to have the moxie to actually stand up in a community forum, particularly in a physical presence, or they may actually be restricted from doing so. More often than that, even in our most recent environment, we're in social distancing, it actually provides more people who actually want to be a participant in the community but choose not to engage on platforms such as a public forum or a social platform to actually be able to do so in a much more free and democratic way.
Yeah, I think the exciting thing here really is that new approach to just building on those relationships with your different stakeholder groups. The examples that we've seen with Yankalilla, I mean, that's fantastic, using it for those small group engagements, but being able to start reaching those broader groups. I mean, you suddenly don't need to be in a Wi-Fi zone to be able to provide feedback, which is pretty fantastic. Yeah, mobile connections have much farther reach.
Yeah, it looks like we're getting some responses, Joe, so I might actually let you start showing them off.
Okay, fantastic. Jumping in here. Sharing my screen now. There we go. So the immediacy that we're starting to have come through, 23 ideas coming through straight into the ideas panel. Paid advertisement, socials, social media, website presentations, collateral. What you'll start to see now is after you've sent your idea through, you'll be receiving a thank you message, but also a link to come back in and start voting or comment on other people's ideas. This is just showing the immediacy, or how quickly all of this starts to come through. What we can do is start filtering already by, rather than newest, let's go the newest one. So the last one that we came through, how do we differentiate ourselves from spam content? It's a nice, interesting one. Seek permissions on all engagements. I think that's part of just your general approach, is that in this scenario where this is where you're wanting people to broadcast in, this is, you're not pushing something out to them. There's been a public invite and people are starting to give their ideas back in. Is there sort of a process that comes through from MessageMedia around this?
So I can talk a little bit about that one as a marketer. at MessageMedia, because we have been doing this for such a long time, we actually are really well across the compliance and regulations that are required. And we've got a really strong team like Rudy who will consult with you and help you make sure that you actually are meeting what you need. Rudy, would you like to continue on that?
Yeah, it's all around the way you build the SMS, so that way it can be deemed appropriate. So there's measures you can put in place to make sure that it's not seen as spam. And as I mentioned before as well, as long as the content is relevant and it provides value and people want to engage in it, then it won't be seen as spam as well. It will be seen as something that they're willing to contribute to. Another interesting one there as well is social media, which is one that I've had a conversation with quite a few councils on as well. So they've got other avenues like YouTube and Facebook that they're invested in and upload content onto, but they have trouble getting the community engaged or even know about the page. So a lot of them are looking to use SMS as well to drive traffic to other parts of their marketing.
Yeah, I think there's some interesting other ones coming here. So we'll work well with remote, rural, and consumer reps. So that's coming from a health sector perspective. So I think that's another thing. We're working across not just local, state, and national government, but across health sector, utilities. We've had conversations with people about using this post appointments, being able to send out an SMS post appointments and having the data come into an engagement platform is a really interesting way to start using aggregated data from patient experience or that area rather than a broader stakeholder group. So it's quite interesting to start seeing different use cases that this suddenly opens your engagement platform up to, rather than thinking about one to a group or one to many, looking at using the platform in a sense of more detailed orientated feedback for one to individuals. It's starting to build out a really nice a wide use case of the platform. Jumping in, we'll just start to see which one has the most votes. So coming through, most votes for the ideas that have come up. Posters around town. It's got 4 votes aligned with a community raffle. I've already voted on one, but we'll jump into the back end of the platform and start to see what it looks like from a data perspective. So jumping into reporting here, just do an update. The immediacy of this. So we've got sentiment analysis toggled on, but when you're asking people for ideas, I suppose it's not really you're not gauging sentiment. All the ideas are just about evolving a collective series of options that you can start to explore. This works really well when you're running through when you're running through a discussion forum and you're wanting to understand sentiment. But what we'll start doing, just reframe this. So here all the ideas are coming through. Thematic tagging. So what we can start seeing here is this one's print. We can go jumping through for new ideas from here. Oops. Scrolling down, so you can create different themes or different thematics. So if we start reading through them, this one's an other. So skywriting, jumping through, putting that as other. Social conversations, you can create a whole range of different thematic tags. So once you're jumping through, you can start saying, all right, we actually want to look at all of the tags which are just around print media, around getting our number out there. So if we just click here, we'll be able to quickly filter those responses. So it's a really nice way, once you've gone through your thematic tagging, looking at those aggregates. I think there was one really great use case over in New Zealand where we didn't have SMS going at that point in time, but what they're doing is they're finding the key themes from discussion forums about the new library post-earthquake, and they're putting up posters around town just saying, like, these are the key themes that we're hearing from the community. And it was, they're using just a link back to Engagement HQ to build on that database. And now with this new approach, you can have the mobile number right there to keep building up those conversations directly straight away. So really exciting to start seeing the use case of this much more broadly. I think with the examples we've seen today, we've looked at it just coming through an ideas form, quick polls. We've started using it in discussion forums as well. So, I mean, this is really new stuff coming through in this space, and the relationship with MessageMedia is evolving rapidly. The use cases are starting to build, the excitement's there. So it's really interesting. If you've got questions, jump them in the questions. I'm not sure if many have come through, Rach.
They
but
have. So I think we might need to get into those because they're more than I expected.
Yeah.
Right. So what we'll do is we'll move across to some questions now, because some really interesting ones have started coming through. And I'll start going through where we're actually at with some of them. So first of all, just running through some of these questions. Can you actually send an SMS of more than 160 characters? Reid, I'll let you answer that.
Yes, you can. You can send more than 160 characters. It counts as 2 SMS if you go over 160, and then there's a threshold, and it increases as you go. So, in saying that though, I would recommend that you try and stick under 160. Get to the point, and they seem to be that they have the most impact as ones that get to the point, and have people's attention for the whole message.
What about Richard?
Sorry, Rudy. NNS, can you explain the difference there and how that works as well in this scenario?
Yeah, MMS, you don't have a limit, so you can include a lot more content. But in saying that, MMS comes at a larger expense as well. So an SMS is typically under 10 cents and per SMS, and an MMS can be anywhere up to 40 cents. So it generally doesn't have the value in that regard.
What about other rich messaging solutions, Rudy?
Well, we have things like short trackable links, so which we've been using in our SMS quite frequently. A lot of our customers have been using it, and we're doing that with Bang the Table as well, where you can direct somebody to a website, which gives you the ability to provide a lot more content and opportunities for branding and pictures and so forth. So if you want to get people to a certain page, using a short trackable link really is quite valuable. And we're seeing in Australia, it's over 30% click-through rate through SMS to web pages, and in some countries it's more as well. So I think in the US it's over 40%. So it depends on the country and the demographic, but yeah, great click-through rates through SMS.
Fantastic. So would a resident need to be registered with your say to submit their idea and have it on the ideas board? Joe or Johannes, I might send that one to you.
Yeah, I might take that question. So for SMS purposes, no. So everything you've experienced and seen today, that was all non-registered, even to the point where when you came through with that short trackable link that came out automatically after the idea got recorded. You can then start voting, and all of this is in this case today was on a non-registered basis. Now on Engagement HQ, we usually do recommend and encourage our the organization that we work with to use registered participants, so have people register before they participate, simply for the fact that you can then build that community and you can build your database and re-engage people further down the track. Now we do appreciate that sometimes it's perceived to be a little bit of a barrier because you want often just to collect feedback quite quickly. So the choice is really up to you. It's either once they're on the page, it's either registered or non-registered, but that's on a tool by tool and on a project by project basis. So we're very flexible in that regard.
Fantastic. We've actually got another question here. Do you know if there's a difference in response rates depending on age demographics? I'm going to break this one into two questions. Is there a difference in response rates for Engagement HQ from an Engagement HQ point of view? And then we can talk about SMS. So Joe?
Yeah,
Joe?
I think it's probably still too early to tell. We don't have that data coming through yet around age demographics, so it'd be great to understand from MessageMedia sort of the cut through or the age demographics that are using SMS.
Yeah, we've produced a ebook about, I don't have to remember, I think it's about 12 months ago now, that actually covered a lot about consumer attitudes towards SMS. What we do know is that all demographics do use it. Yes, it does drop off a little bit in the older demographic, but it is actually quite across the board, everyone using it. We do see a lot of the younger demographic using it, particularly the millennials and sub-40s, but people of all age groups do use it. The question is, how much do they use it in terms of engagement around two-way SMS? We'll see more in two-way SMS in the younger demographic than the older, but the older demographic really engage with the ability for us to use, with the ability to get reminders and things like that. Which kind of then goes into the another question we had, which is with the stats 73% prefer SMS, what's the demographic profile? That one is a blended number, and it is across the board, particularly as it applies to reminders and things like that. Oh, this is a good question for the Bang the Table team. How are ideas moderated if they're dropping live in the event that something comes through that is inappropriate? Have we still got you guys with the Bang?
Yep.
Yes, excellent question. So actually we have, and that again is true for all our tools. So not only the ideas tool, but also we've got a place tool. We've got a form tool, there's a guestbook tool. So all these tools display comments from the community for other people to see, because we believe it encourages conversation. Now we have two levels of moderations there. The first one is sort of an AI filter. So it looks through, and that's on the fly. So it looks through a comment or an SMS, and it filters it out based on a, if it detects bad language or variation of bad language. That's quite smart. I wouldn't say we capture everything. There's probably a few ways you can spell certain words to get it through, but it's very, very broad. So the majority of bad language will be filtered straight away. But then also we have a moderation that occurs after the fact. So once a comment has been posted and has cleared the bad language filter, we have a team of moderators that scan all our sites 24/7 for anything that it's that doesn't meet our moderation rules and is against the etiquette of online discussion. So it looks for abuse, looks for racism and the like, and we have actually human beings looking at that and having a second level of moderation where they can remove a comment if it breaches our moderation rules.
Yeah. And a follow-up one for you guys. Do you have any do you use any specific wording to let people know that their ideas may be publicly displayed?
Good question as well. So through the SMS, not yet. So I would imagine that if you do publish a telephone number and invite feedback that way, you would probably want to make that clear on the poster or whatever it might be. When you are in Engagement HQ and you're interacting on the browser itself, at that point it's quite obvious when ideas are or comments are public and when not. So we don't specifically say it on a tool-by-tool basis, but the interface makes it quite clear. So for example, if you go into a forum discussion, you can see everybody else's comments. Therefore, you would assume that your own comment will be visible as well. So it's depends a little bit, but most of the time it should be very obvious to the participant that their contribution will be seen by someone else.
Fantastic. Do you ever get angry or unhappy responses because of consumer feedback fatigue, or do people tend just not to respond?
Joe, my video has dropped off, so I'm not quite sure. Joe, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, so I suppose with this, it's engagement fatigue. I think we start to see happening where a lot of transactional engagements happen with the community, where there hasn't been an echo back of how contributions have come in, how decisions have been made, and directions projects are taking. So I think there's engagement fatigue really has a lot to do with the ongoing behaviour of the organisation and the relationship they have with their community. And that's where I suppose SMS is also a great opportunity now to keep people informed about those different connection points of when those projects happen. So, well, what those transition points are in those projects. So going back to using SMS for that, for that project communication or that outbound communication with community members. We start to see where communities have been involved in multiple stages of a project. So if your methodology's evolving based on input at different stages, that there is a traction of people continuing to participate. It's more so where the generic behavior of an organization is, we just need your input here, and there's no sort of feedback or closing the loop. That's where engagement fatigue starts to set in. But that's, yeah, it really comes down to the relationship people have with the organization. So this is something that we constantly work on around how do we help organizations instill best practice to battle that, and to make sure community members are actively coming back. So it's not just about one engagement, it's about being involved in those decisions that are shaping everything ongoing. So I think that's the main thing here that we'll be looking at. And once again, with SMS, are we going to start to see another shift, or like it's still too early to tell to start to see what are the impacts of implementing this as part of your engagements. It'll be interesting to see people who use it for one-off engagements versus does it just become part of practice moving forward for all of their engagements. So it'll be nice to sort of watch these trends emerge. Yeah.
An interesting question. Can participants simply take a photo and be able to send that in?
Yeah, I thought that question may come up. So as I said earlier, right, this integration between the SMS bit and Engagement HQ is something we're approaching in a quite agile manner. So we're building this as, you know, for example, the Yankalilla example you've seen as our clients are starting using SMS. And so the image bit has come up a fair bit. We haven't built that yet, but we are aware that this is something that might be of great interest. You mentioned MMS earlier there too. And our ideas tool actually does have a capability of allowing participants to post an image. It's just not coming through via SMS or MMS just yet, but we have plans on integrating that as well, yes. It's an excellent question though, and I'm glad we hear it over and over again. It's so great to go.
Someone's made an attempt to do so on the ideas board, so that's actually really, love that people are already up for that.
Yeah, exactly right. So that's great to see though. So it's not the first time we've heard it, and which is fantastic, because from a sort of integration and building a product point of view, it's exactly the kind of feedback we like to get. So.
Yeah. Next one we have, wow, there's a lot of questions. Can it work with map and pin functionality? Can you drop a GIS location and comment?
Yeah, again, so this is along the lines of what we're planning on building, or how we envisage the integration to work out in the future. Again, the answer is similar to the MMS bit, not yet, but definitely something we keep in mind. I would probably, if I had to guess between doing MMS and photos and dropping pins on maps, I would probably say we probably go with the photos first, which just in my head seems a little bit easier to actually do. I'm not quite sure how GIS and geolocation works on an SMS, so we'll have to look into that a bit more.
Next one we have, what if users have a standard, which I'm guessing is more of your old school analog sort of a phone versus a smartphone? Can they still use the functions? Rudy, can you talk about SMS on smartphones versus non-smartphones?
Yeah, the outcome would be the same. So that's what's the beauty of SMS. It works across, you know, older handsets all the way to brand new ones. So there's no need to download an app or update software or anything like that. SMS is the same across all different platforms.
What are the legal requirements of collecting a database of mobile numbers? I'm happy to take that one because everyone is just done. It's entirely a question of consent, and my strongest recommendation is seek the advice of people that know it really well. Our support team and our consultants here at MessageMedia are really well versed in compliance requirements in multiple jurisdictions, and that's one of our specialities. How do you manage a large number of responses? Does this affect the receipt of SMS messages as a result of everyone using the one number? Rudy, would you like to talk about the latency and things like that?
Was that again?
So how do you manage a large number of responses, does the effect
Yes.
of SMSs get sending back have an issue because of using one single mobile number?
Yeah, so in regards to volume and our capacity, we have outbound SMS. We have like retailers that want to send like 6 million SMS in a morning, and our platform has the capability of doing that. So we can actually transact 4,000 SMS a second. So in regards to capacity and all that, that's not a concern whatsoever. So and that throughput would pass on through to Bang the Table.
Yep. And Joe, Johannes, how does that work for you guys? What do you see when you see a huge number of pieces of feedback coming through to the engagement HQ?
Yeah, likewise. I mean, we're not quite at the 6 million mark there. I haven't seen that yet, so I can't speak to that. But we have seen, we've got ideas boards with thousands of ideas, and in our places too with thousands of pins. So we are set up in the same manner to encourage as much engagement as possible. So you shouldn't be constrained by any speed or any limits on that front as well. So engagement HQ is set up to scale quite nicely too.
Fantastic. I'm actually just going to move across to the final slide as we do the final couple of questions. We have had a question around how do you find out back costs? Is there quoting? I will give a little bit of a wrap up on how to do that at the end of the session. How does it work when you have multiple projects going and someone sends an idea to a number? How do you know which project to link it to? How would you advise people to do that, Johannes?
Yeah, excellent question. So this is the business logic that we're building in this integration into our platform. From a MessageMedia point of view, you can get I know that you can get as many dedicated numbers as you wish, as you want, or you can recycle the numbers. Say you run this now and then you're going to use it again in 3 months' time, but for a different project. So from a dedicated number point of view, there's as far as I understand, stop me, Rudy, if I'm wrong, but there's no limit of how many dedicated numbers you can have. From an engagement HQ point of view, yes. So we're building logic to say, okay, I've got a dedicated number here, and I want this to go into this project, and then have another dedicated number here, and I want this to go into that project. So you can expect the business logic at that end, and that's why we're building this integration to take care of that.
And then just a couple of final questions. There are some we may not be able to get to, but we are happy to circle back with some individuals or create an FAQ for some of the big ones that do come through. One that I'll be just putting to you really quickly. At our institution and community, at our institution, we are looking to use SMS as a learning tool. Would you have any advice?
As a learning tool, I'd probably have to come back to them with a few more questions about what they're trying to achieve there. I think it definitely would be good to connect with whoever that asked that question and have a deeper dive into what they're trying to achieve. I think because I think there's many different ways you could approach that. I'd encourage them to text through their name to that number and maybe include that scenario, that question, and I'd be happy to follow up with them and have a proper conversation around that. Fantastic.
Next one, is this platform limited just to local government? We have spoken a lot about shires and local governments. Is this restricted just to them? Joe?
Definitely not. So the use case of this is building out that digital environment, and all areas that we're working, apart from local, state and national government, but utility sector, water, gas, energy, through to health, primary health networks, local health districts, hospitals, the list goes on. So I think that's the scope of this, is that there's no limitation to wherever you're needing to engage community or stakeholders around being informed and involved in decision making. This scenario, if SMS and the blend of digital engagement work well for you, happy to explore it and run some different scenarios and work with you on that.
Fantastic. And then finally, how real time is real time?
We saw the results coming through straight through in today's session. So I think that's pretty exciting to just see how rapid it is. That's the not just the open rate and the reading of SMS that you've presented, like actually seeing the contributions come straight back through into your engagements and when we're looking at Yankalilla, whenever they ran those public meetings, the SMS contributions, just like if you looked at the timestamps coming in during those sessions, it's fantastic to see.
Fantastic. Look, we're actually at time now. Thank you very much to the panel, but more importantly to everyone who was on the line and participated in both the quick poll and the ideas activities. I'm sorry that with some people who weren't able to get their phone numbers in, they weren't able to participate in activity 1, but I really hope you are able to participate in activity 2. From here, you will be receiving a final SMS with a link to the final engagement page so you can see the results of today's activity. And there'll also be a find out a little bit more pop-up form that you can also send off, and so Bang the Table can give you a hand. If you're interested in how to find out more about how to introduce this, as I said, you can click the request more information section on the Bang the Table thing, or text us up on this number here with your name and number, your name and email, and Rudy will actually be able to get in touch with you directly. We're also going to be sending through a follow-up email for those who may have had some audio or drop-off issues during the session, with a link to the recording and again to the Engagement HQ platform. So again, thanks very much, Johannes, Joe and Rudy, and I hope everyone has a really great day. Thank you.
Thanks, Rachel.
Thanks, guys.
Rachel. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for your time, everyone.